and welcome to the Ghoul Guide Association, the show where we are dying because global warming is real and we're very, very hot.
Temperature-wise.
And also, yes. And also gothic and spooky things. Yay, we're back.
We're back. Hello, this is Lauren and I'm Mary also. We have been on a very long unplanned hiatus because I got really ill. I was ill for about 4 or 5 months. No, months? Oh my gosh, sorry, weeks? 4 or 5 weeks. I also went to Poland. Also, Lauren, you and I have both not been dealing with this heat. This country is not built for this kind of weather. So Everyone's saying, like, yes, we understand it is warmer in other countries, but our buildings are made to keep the heat in. And we don't have things like aircon because so many of our buildings are old and you cannot build aircon in them. So
also, we're so like compact that if we had aircon, it wouldn't necessarily make things better because we'd all just be pumping hot air back out into very built up urban areas.
I know you and I have both been suffering. We've both had a kind of gothic heroine kind of moment where we've done the classic faint. So to everyone else out there suffering from whatever kind of weather, I know there's been lots of really actually horrible weather and climate events recently. We hope you're looking after yourselves. Staying cool or staying dry or staying safe is the main thing.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're watching this rather than listening to this, I'm sorry, I am sweaty. Please, consider this being one of the ones you watch in the background while you do something else.
Yeah.
Well, we're back and Mary has a review for us of a brand new gothic offering.
Yes, and I really wanted to review this as soon as I saw it. I saw it ages ago when it first came out, and I kind of teased it a little bit, and then it's just so poorly.
And then we disappeared off the face of the planet.
I was really poorly, and then I got a little bit better, and then I went to Poland for 10 days, and then I came back even more poorly. So apologies for the delay in getting this review out and also new episodes. But yes, today, this episode, we are going to be reviewing the new play called The Psychic from Andy Nyman and Jeremy Dyson. Lauren, just before I dive into my review and what this play is about, have you heard of this play? Have you seen anything about it?
You know what? I actually haven't. I only know about it and knew that it was happening because you told me about it. I mean, I obviously know who Andy Nyman is, but I haven't actually. I've watched a couple of episodes of things like Inside Number 9, but it hadn't been on my feed. It hadn't come in my recommended adverts. It hadn't actually popped up anywhere for me, which is quite surprising, all things considered.
It is, yeah. And well, hopefully today's episode, if you also haven't heard of this play, then this will give you a little taste of it. And maybe if it's still showing, I should have checked, but it hopefully will still be showing.
It'll come back round if not.
Yeah, because it just did a kind of premiere in York. But okay, let's dive in then. So this is the latest creation from Andy Nyman and Jeremy Dyson. Some of you will be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. You're already sold in this play. But I'm sure some of you will be thinking, who are these men? And I think that it is, I think it is really important to understanding why this play is really cool. So Andy Nyman is a British actor, director, writer, singer, and magician. As an actor, he's appeared on stage, on television, and also on the big screen, including the 1989 adaptation of The Woman in Black, which is very, very spooky. If you haven't seen that film,
yes, I have seen that one. The way they do the approach to the hall is very good in that.
It's very well done. He's also starred in E4's 2008 zombie horror satire, Dead Set, which was written and created by Charlie Brooker. Again, I think that was really fabulous. It's basically what if a zombie apocalypse, but in Big Brother. So if you haven't seen that,
Yeah.
go check that out.
That was very much like E4 heyday. That was
Yeah,
the like golden era of E4.
it was so good. He's also a frequent collaborator with illusionist Darren Brown and Jeremy Dyson. So I'm going to come on to Jeremy Dyson in a minute, but Darren Brown, illusionist, magician, really, really incredible and famous. And with Darren Brown, Andy Nyman co-created and co-wrote some of his television series. So Darren Brown, Mind Control and Trick of the Mind, two of the kind of early Darren Brown series that helped to bring him to national and then eventually global attention. He also co-wrote with Darren Brown several TV specials, including Seance, which is, I think, my favourite Darren Brown thing and Andy Nyman thing that I've ever seen, and Messiah. And he also co-wrote and co-directed many of Darren Brown's stage shows, including Something Wicked This Way Comes. And this is just to kind of say, Andy Nyman, he has a kind of pedigree in spooky and horror TV and film, but also he's a magician and he knows stagecraft.
Yeah.
And he's worked with Darren Brown on all of these kind of illusionist magician shows. I've been to some of Darren Brown's live shows and they are really, really incredible. I've seen some as well on TV, and you can see the kind of stagecraft that goes into creating that spooky gothic environment. So that is Andy Nyman. And who is Jeremy Dyson? So Jeremy Dyson is a British English musician, author and screenwriter. Along with Mark Gatiss, Steve Pemberton and Reese Shearsmith, he's one of the League of Gentlemen, but he's basically like professed that he has a lack of acting skills. So apart from brief cameos, he doesn't actually star in the League of Gentlemen media. He's very much happy co-writing and producing these kinds of projects.
And that's not to be confused with the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which is a completely different comic series. If you're not familiar, because I know we do have a lot of listeners in the US, this is a British institution, really. Like, it was pretty big. It launched quite a few careers. Sort of that classic kind of British absurdist comedy, weird, like things like Mighty Boosh, like all kind of came off the back of this, inspired by this type of show. And I remember being really freaked out by it.
Mark Gatiss, obviously now he's very heavily involved with the BBC's redevelopment of A Ghost Story for Christmas. Steve Pemberton, Reese Shearsmith, they had their very successful Inside Number 9 series. This is very much kind of like this is where he's come from. It's something that is very much aligned with kind of gothic and horror and spookiness, but also, as you've said, the weird, the absurd, that very kind of British kind of institution of humor as well, and that kind of stuff. Jeremy Dyson is also in a band, and he's also written a lot of books, including Bright Darkness, The Lost Art of the Supernatural Horror Film. So quite a lot of his books are fiction, but this one in particular is a non-fiction book about horror film. So again, his credentials very much rooted in this kind of gothic and horror spookiness and theatricality side of things. And so their collaboration. So Andy Nyman and Jeremy Dyson have a long-standing collaborative relationship. They worked on Ghost Stories, which began life as a one-act horror play, which premiered on the West End, and it's since toured the UK and also several other countries across the globe, including Australia, where it had a kind of a little tour. And since then, this play has been adapted into a film which stars Andy Nyman. So they both kind of help to produce, create, co-write, and Andy Nyman is on stage. He starred in the original one-act play, and he's also stars in the film. Jeremy Dyson is very much behind the scenes, but I think it's very much a kind of collaborative relationship. And if you haven't seen Ghost Stories, then I would absolutely recommend it. for those of you that haven't, just to give you a little taste about the psychic. So at the end of ghost stories, the audience are asked to keep the secrets of ghost stories so that new audiences do not have the experience spoiled with any prior information about that play. Lauren, have you seen this play?
No, I
No.
really, really want to.
Yeah.
And I know we've kind of talked
Yeah.
about getting like Hannah and Kate and going to see it. So I would like to see it soon, because I think I was waiting for you. I was waiting for you to go and see it so you could tell me if I could see it.
Oh, I mean, ghost stories. Yeah, I've seen it several times actually. And
Yeah, so I
it's
know you've seen it a few times. So
I'm not going to be spoiling the plot of Ghost Stories because I want to keep that secret alive for everyone that's watching it. But I
Mhm.
will say that it is probably the scariest thing that I've seen on stage. I think it's a really effective horror ghost story. You essentially are told several ghost stories, and I'm not going to tell you what they're about, but they're really fascinating. And again, why I love it, and it's that Jeremy Dyson, Andy Nyman collaboration. You can see the love of this genre and the stagecraft. It really
Yeah.
works. They use their kind of theatrical experience and the experience of, you know, their knowledge of horror and the gothic and this kind of campiness, but also
Mhm.
performative, but to really create something that's quite scary actually. And it has both that kind of creeping anxiety driven like dread and terror, but also moments of like just jump scares. So that's all you're getting from me about ghost stories. If you haven't seen it, go and see it. I do want to, however, briefly mention what Andy and Jeremy say about the beauty of keeping secrets, especially when it does come to this genre of the spooky and the supernatural. So Andy has said in an interview in the past, secrets are precious. If you give people a secret that they really enjoy and you ask them nicely to keep it, they do, which I think is a really beautiful way of having that relationship with the audience. You know, you've been let in on this secret and you're now part of creating this larger narrative around it. And he also goes on to say that these days everything is spoiled. Every single film and television trailer ruins plot points. Jeremy and I love the experience of telling people a really good story without them knowing anything about it in advance. You feel the buzz of the audience. It's an exciting thing to sit and watch. So again, it's that relationship, and you can tell that they really enjoy creating these things for the audience. Which brings us to the latest offering from the Masters of Macabre, Andy Nyman and Jeremy Dyson, The Psychic. Although again, I won't be spoiling a lot of the plot for those very reasons.
Yeah, for obvious reasons.
Yeah. So this play had its world premiere earlier this year at the York Theatre Royal on the 29th of April. It's very much, so if you could look at ghost stories as quite a kind of male-centered plot, a lot of the actors in it are men, and a lot of the stories are quite heavily focused on men. This is a play very much about women, which is quite refreshing. The three kind of main characters are Sheila Gold, who's played by Eileen Walsh. Sheila Gold is a psychic, and she's also from a showman family.
Mhm.
And I'll come back to that in a minute. We also have Rosa, who's played by Frances Barber, and Rosa is her mother, so Sheila's mother. And then we have Tara, who's played by Megan Placido, and she is Sheila's niece. And so it's very
Okay,
much
so
this
we've got
kind
that
of
like three
three
generations.
generations, these very
Mhm.
strong women, and you see the family dynamic kind of, and that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
intergenerational kind of transmission of knowledge, and also
Mhm.
um, a little bit of rivalry as well. So
Yeah.
we join Sheila as she's attempting to. Okay, actually, before I go into that, when I first got to the York Theatre Royal, I'm buzzing. I'm so excited about this play. This, like,
Yeah.
Ghost Stories is my favorite play that I've seen on stage. And I also love everything that Andy Nyman and Jeremy Dyson do. So I'm very, very excited. And also the psychic, you know me, seance is my favourite Derren Brown thing. I love this kind of this combination of seances, medium, that history, especially coming out of the 19th century, as it interplays with spiritualism, magicians, stagecraft, and how it intertwines with that kind of Gothic history of theatre as well. So immediately you're there and there's these signs, and I'll put a picture up. I might put a picture up on this video, so if you're watching it, you'll be able to read it. And I will also maybe put some on the Instagram as well.
Good idea.
There's a sign that says Sheila Gold. If you would like psychic Sheila Gold to make spiritual contact for you, fill in an angel card here. I love this. Absolutely love this. So before the play's even started, you are invited to fill in an angel card where you can, you know, I didn't do it because I'm not into that, but I just love watching that. So you can go and fill it. They had people from the theatre who were there, people from the show, you know, where you could interact and talk about how and for me, I'm like, okay, so this is what we would call warm reading, hot reading, where the person is gathering information from the person that's kind of, I want to contact this person, or I want to know. You put some information on the card, but you're also talking to someone. So I'm like, okay, I love this. I love this idea. We've got audience participation already, like being promised.
Because that's the thing that like so many of these shows do. Like genuinely or disingenuinely, like famously there was that one psychic where his assistant was using the angel cards to like Google people, and then he would be like, oh, I'm sensing you've lost a relative, and she's looking at their Facebooks and talking into his ear kind of thing. So that's like a genuine part of a psychic medium show.
And for me, like, this is why I'm really interested in this, because it's like, what is real and what isn't real? And often you'll find that, especially fictional stories about this, it will be kind of like, this is fraudulent, but then something real happens. So that's your kind of like, that's where you're starting the play with. And I don't think that's not a spoiler to know that. When you're sat down in the theatre, it's kind of, you can see Sheila Gold, like her name is lit up in gold lights. And then when she comes in and the play starts, it's like you're basically at one of her shows, which I really love, that kind of blurring of what's real and what's not. And she goes into this kind of mediumship show. I'm not going to say anything more about that. I don't want to spoil it. But you then... that's probably my favorite part of this play, that opening bit with where she uses the angel cards, and she has this kind of relationship, this interaction with the audience there, which again, like whatever showing of the play, performance of the play you go to, will be different because there'll be different people in the audience. So I also really like that. And Eileen Walsh is incredible for the entire play, but she's really good here. Like, she's amazing. We then learn that essentially we're meeting Sheila at a moment when she's trying to rebuild her career. She's been accused of being a fraud. She's had a really expensive lawsuit that she lost, and she's now trying to come back and prove to everyone, no, I am legit. I am real. So that's the kind of backdrop. And then you have her interaction with her family. So her niece shows up wanting to learn the trade, and you find out more about showman culture. So it's essentially kind of a really distinct kind of fairground traveller culture, distinct from Romany traditions and culture, and also distinct from Irish travellers. It's a specific kind of tradition and people that are specifically linked to fairgrounds and this idea of mediumship and that kind of showman. And throughout the play, there's lots of vocabulary that's used that is drawing on that culture. There's also a glossary that you see immediately when you come in to the theatre, and then if you buy program, which I did,
Of course.
of course, you also have, let me find it here, a kind of showman glossary that can help you as a josser, which is a non-showman people, to understand some of the lingo. So I think it was a really nice kind of introduction into this particular kind of culture, and they really draw on that in the way that you learn that Sheila had been mentored by her mother, and her niece now is wanting to be mentored by her to learn the trade. And obviously, I'm not going to go into any more detail than that, but there are at the heart of this that's the family drama. There are these kinds of relationships here, whilst at the same time Sheila is trying to rebuild her career. And so there's another couple that kind of come in and want to work with her for reasons. That's all I'm going to say about the plot, because I think if you want to find out, I don't want to spoil it. You should go and watch it. To review what I thought of the entire play, I would say this is very much a psychological thriller play, very, very different from ghost stories. There are moments of that kind of supernatural ghost mediumship seancey stuff, but especially in the second act, there's not a lot, and it's not really. There are moments of that kind of anticipation, that terror, and there's a couple of maybe small jump scares, but I think it's more focused on it being a family drama and a psychological thriller. And I think for me, I enjoyed the play. I wish I had known that going in, because I think also, especially with the marketing being so heavily on the psychic, everything that I know,
your expectations.
Everything that I know about Andy Nyman and Jeremy Dyson, their previous plays, I was really excited about it. And I think, especially the beginning, like I said, that opening bit was so good and everything that I would want. And then I think if I had just known that it was more of a family drama, psychological thriller, I think I would have maybe enjoyed it a bit more. I also think personally that, and maybe this is just me being like a genre person, I really enjoyed the first act, and I think that the first act should have been expanded, and that should have been the play. I think the second act is it maybe it gets a little bit, I guess it's not as strong, but maybe that's because I'm expecting like the thrills to the kind of spookiness to keep going. So that's just maybe my personal taste. But I do think, I know, Lauren, that you're not a massive fan of like horror media. I think that this play would be perfect for you.
Well, this is the kind of thing that I do really love.
I
love family drama, spiritualism. Like, I like the creepy, spooky, like psychological stuff. So yeah, this does sound like something that I kind of, I was thinking that we've already the 3 generation thing, that's the thing you get a lot in like witchcraft novels. Like, that's a very strong tie to that kind of family gothic that is centered around women and women's experiences, and how the supernatural and the gothic is used to explore women's experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like I said, I think this is a really good play. I think it's just, for me, because of the things that I enjoy, and also because I had so many expectations, I think it just wasn't as good as I maybe thought it would be. But I would still absolutely recommend that everyone go and see it. It's great, and I think we just need more more spooky plays. I love spooky theatre.
Always more spooky plays.
Yeah, I love spooky theatre. And hopefully, there'll be more spooky plays that we can go and see and that we can review
Yeah,
in
hopefully.
the
I
in the
just did
future.
a quick Google to see if I could find to tell everyone, like, it looks like it's coming to the West End.
Mm,
Which I know Ghost Stories has been on the West End, so
yeah.
it looks like in the near future, if you want to see this, you can all join me and we'll go on a trip to the West End and see it on the West End.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, and I absolutely would recommend it. It's really, really fun and creative. This is, this I'm
Mhm.
not it's good. I enjoyed it and I would
But we've
recommend it.
talked about this before, like when we talked about novels like Butter, like
Mm,
I think this is the Crimson Peak curse as well. Like, I think there is a real issue that we have over the last kind of 10 to 15 years about the way that we market gothic stories versus
yeah,
horror, like thriller scare stories. And I
yeah.
think it can really damage someone's enjoyment of a very good piece of
Mhm.
literature, media, culture, because if you're going into it expecting
Yeah.
something and actually what it delivers is something quite different. Like, I do totally get when they talk about, like, they want people to come in not knowing about it, but I do think there is definitely this issue that we've got around the way that we market these gothic pieces, because people go into them expecting to be terrified, expecting to jump out of their skin, and it's not a bad thing that that's not happening. But if that's what you're expecting and that's what you've been sold,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
invariably going to feel a little bit disappointed. And I do think that is a really important thing to note, is that way that a lot of gothic stuff is billed. I think it can make you kind of stop and go, oh well, I was expecting
Yeah.
more of the, like you said, more of the first act. It's not that it's bad or wasn't enjoyable, but it's not what the media and the marketing around it led you to believe it was going to
Yeah.
be. And I wonder if that's intentional to a certain extent, but it can harm people's enjoyment of
Yeah.
something.
I will just end on, so at one point in the play, Sheila says this is not theatre. And I think that's a really interesting thing, because it's
Mhm.
so much of the play is asking you, and I think in a really effective way, like a lot of uh
Yeah.
narratives about mediumship do, is this real or not? Is this all theatrical? Is this all
Mhm.
a performance or not? And so I think that
Mhm.
it does that really well, and I think it's really effective at making you question what's happening and what different people believe, and also the role of the audience as well, I think, in those
Yeah.
narratives.
Yeah. Well, I definitely will be keeping an eye on that to go and see it, and we will eventually do that group trip to see Ghost Stories as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you for that review. If you've been to see it, or if you're going to see it, if you've had plans, let us know what your thoughts were as well. And if you've got any other recommendations for stage shows that you think Mary and I should check out, please let us know. But in the meantime, especially in this weather,
Yes.
stay safe and stay spooky.
Stay safe and stay spooky.